Ladies and gentlemen, live from the world of SaaS sales, standing tall as one of the top sellers at CloudTalk. He's not just closing deals, he's smashing records, making money on the phone. Give it up for the one and only Salvador Avila, everybody.
Let's go.
Woo! So what up, Joe? Thanks
Hey,
for being here.
thank you. It's not normal for me to speak to you in English, but
No.
it's really a pleasure to be invited to your podcast.
It is a privilege, but the best podcast in the SaaS B2B space in the earth, in the land.
Let's go. What's
Hell
the name
yeah.
of the podcast? By the way?
The one and only,
The one and only.
the one and only podcast.
Love it.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty interesting. So tell us a little bit about who's Salvador Avila.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, Salvador Avila, honestly, is a human being. It's kind of a hard first question to me. I'm not gonna lie, but I mean, it's someone that likes to strive to do better things. It's a person that likes to lift people around him up, and it's a person that is very ambitious, but at the same time wants the good for the people around him. I would say that's kind of like what defines me the best. But there's a lot of other stuff, I guess, that could come into the mix. But
Well,
I want to
that's
keep it simple. That's it.
hell yeah, hell yeah. So, Sal, you are not just one of my regular guests. You are one of the top sales, SDRs at CloudTalk. Um, Interesting company. Can you tell us a little bit about what you were doing before CloudTalk, though? I know you founded a SMMA company.
Mhm.
But yeah, what like tell us a little bit of the background.
Yeah, absolutely. So back in college, I started a marketing company with one of my friends, Omar. We actually met in a marketing class, and we were always, I guess, very ambitious. We always like to we wanted to build something for ourselves, and also like something for like the greater good. I guess we can get a little bit more into that. But yeah, it started when a couple years ago. I got the experience of like meeting up with people, like how to finding people. I guess like that's are the two main parts of building a business. As I learned, would be like your internal customers, your external customers, right? So your external customers are obviously the people are going to give you the money, and your internal customers at the end of the day is the people that you work with, the people that you trust. That's going to be also like a super and even more important part of like building a business. um it's still going on, at the moment, obviously focusing a bit more on cloud talk and the experience that I'm getting there, not only in sales but like looking about how a company at a different size, at a different scale, operates. And yeah, it's I'm at this point in time, and that's where I am.
Nice. So, what's like the hardest part of building the like a SMMA?
I think it's finding the right people. I think it's 100% going to be understanding how to deal with people once also that they're hired, right? You find the right people, and then you find you're gonna have to find someone that's ambitious, someone that you can trust, and someone that you can trust also comes in two levels, I believe, right? You can trust in someone's goodwill, and that's going to be super important, but also how you can trust in someone's work ethic. It's going to be super important as well, because a lot of people, we have good intentions, but we also have to trust in like how well they can deliver. So that's going to be, I think, also the hardest part. And then yourself, right? Like how showing leadership is, it's more than, I would say it's more than being the big dog. Actually, being a leader, I think it's not about being the big dog. At the end of the day, is like how are people gonna look up to you in a way where your actions speak for themselves, right? And I think that's something that I'm actually learning a lot more here at Cloud Talk. Like the way that I'm managed is very very hands off, right? And I think when I started my company, it was a lot about, it was at the beginning, you always think like micromanaging is going to be like the right thing to do, because you want the people to do whatever you think is right. And at the end of the day, when you find the right people and you let them understand their work cycle, and there are people that you can trust, you don't need to be behind their backs. So that's, I guess I'm answering a lot of questions at the same time, like it's maybe some that you haven't asked yet, but yeah.
No, that's nice. That's nice. So, what's like the worst experience with a internal customer?
I mean, I guess it's not being able to trust them, you know, like at the end of the day with an internal customer, it's like maybe you give them a lot of chances and you still believe that maybe they're like a great uh a great person, but like the business relationship is not going to work in the same way, right? Like even though like you can still believe they're the great people and that they have great intentions, sometimes business goes a little bit beyond that, and you have to learn how to draw that line, you know, like that's I guess that's kind of like to a particular experience, like I would say that's it, you know. Sometimes when finding people that work for us, it was a little bit harder to trust them, and at the same time you wanted to believe in them, and that lingered for a longer time. I would say that that would be a challenge that I faced quite a couple times.
Damn, hardcore. Where did you find the people? Like when you're hiring?
I was hiring mainly in Pakistan, right? So Pakistan. Sometimes we would look for people in Mexico, but mostly in Pakistan. You can understand maybe why, because like
They work hard.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're
they work
actually
hard.
hard working people. A lot of the times. Um, I learned
They're
also
smart.
they're smart. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, not
No.
you can't generalize for anyone, but like you can find really smart people, hardworking people, and people that you can trust. You know, um,
Nothing
yeah.
to do with the fact that it's cheaper.
Nothing to do with that. No, no. We were actually paying them Canadian salaries, man. No. Obviously, that comes into the mix, right? It's gonna be important, especially for like when you're starting a company and you're coming right out of college. We didn't have any money to invest with it. We started with our own, like, okay, we believe we can do this, so we're gonna stand in front of people, tell them we can do it, and do it. You know, like they're pretty much like that. Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. So, what's like the major challenge you had starting at CloudTalk?
It's a good question. I think the major challenge I got like starting at CloudTalk was the fact that systems weren't as clearly drawn as you could have imagined. You know, like there is one CloudTalk's still a startup in a sense. So while it's a way bigger company that obviously my startup where we were starting with $0, uh, CloudTalk is a very professional company, but at the same time it's still to the level of a startup, so it works different than if you would go to, which I don't have the experience with that, but I can imagine how it is working at Salesforce and anywhere else where all systems have been drawn because of how long they've existed, right? At CloudTalk, I think one of the most beautiful things, but also challenging things, is that you get to draw those lines, right? Like if you find a different way to do something, go ahead and do it, you know, and you build a new system inside the company, right? For example, over here in the office in Toronto, it's not a huge office. No one that manages me directly works there, right? Like, so we have account executives, we have SDRs, and we have CSMs. We no, none of us are above each other in that way, right? Like, I don't have any boss telling me what to do. I'll have a couple meetings with the people over in Spain, and they'll kind of give me some guidelines. But it's a lot of like DIY, you know. But it's good because like from my experience, I think that's how I like to do things. I like to have that space for creativity, space to add into something that's not already there, you know. So
Yeah,
yeah, while it's a challenge, it's also one of the most positive things at CloudTalk, I'd say.
that's interesting because when I work in a bunch of companies I work at, nobody knows what they're doing. Like, especially in sales, there's no systems. What I mean, obviously, I've seen the spectrum of a really good training system.
Yep.
Shout out to Telus, really great
Oh yeah.
sales ground. Yeah, if you want to become really good at sales, you don't have any experience.
Mm-hmm.
Telus, they have a system, and they explain step by step.
Mm-hmm.
So if they to handle objections, for example,
Okay.
it's not just a 3-step thing. They
Mm-hmm.
give you the step by step, or they break it down. They break down the intro. They
Mm-hmm.
have every single system in the sales process, um, which is funny because then I go to the B2B world and nobody, like, it's like, okay, that's a phone and these are numbers, or not even numbers. This is what we need.
Yeah.
Okay,
Make it happen.
good luck, homie.
Absolutely.
um, but then you get used to it, and then you just realize just the way it goes, and I guess you develop skills on entrepreneurship, sales, and how to not be a pansy.
I see. But like, tell me more. Like in Tellus, how would they teach you? Is it like you guys have like videos, or you get someone like you'll shadow directly? How did that work at Tellus?
I mean, they have the whole system, right? So they have videos, they have e-learning, but it's just the culture. You know, if
Okay.
they start training someone, then the manager knows properly how to sell.
Mm.
Then he can leverage that knowledge, teach everybody properly with step by step.
Yeah.
Um, and what I see people in sales think, okay, no, sales can't be robotic, which they think it's a synonym of not having systems in place,
Having structure.
not having structure. I think it's a lie. I think you need a structure,
100%.
and if you have a good structure, then you can make it sound,
Yeah.
natural.
Yeah.
But
It's funny that you say that because when I just started, because as you may know, like CloudTalk was my first like actual sales job. I had some sales experience at working at my own company, but then CloudTalk was my first experience where I was doing sales for something that was not mine. And at the beginning, and my manager told me this, and I think it's so true. At the beginning, you want to follow the script. You want to learn how to follow the script and do it right, and then what after a while, then it becomes a little bit more conversational, right? And
yeah,
then maybe you lose structure,
yeah,
and then you find structure again, and maybe you lose it again, and then it becomes like the more that you do that, the more that it becomes there's a sweet spot where it's a conversation, and I think we were talking about before the podcast, right? You have your questions, but at the same time it's conversational, and the best parts about this podcast are going to be the ones where we didn't know where we're going to get to in the first place, right?
yeah.
And that's also in the conversations, like the most important parts of the conversation. Maybe it was not a question that I had written down, but then you just started telling me about it. I was like, this is a very important aspect, like about you, about your goals.
Yeah,
So giving that space for people to talk, and then at the same time not getting lost, because I guess one of my biggest challenges right now, I would say, is that okay, I got structure at the beginning, then less structure, and then now I'm in the process again of gaining structure, you know, because my calls are becoming also very conversational. I'm getting way better at having those human interactions where I get the information that I need. But for example, time is money, as you may know, right?
yeah.
And sometimes where conversations that are supposed to be 15 minutes become 30 minutes, it's very nice. You're still getting what you're supposed to get, but you have to learn how to respect your own time, because your time is also going to be valuable for the next call, even if you need some rest between one call and the next. So I would say, yeah, structure is it's a funny subject. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what's your process in selling now, Christian?
Define process.
Um, I would say the structure in terms of how do you deal with building rapport,
Mm,
and then how you deal with the objections, and
mm.
how you deal with the closing.
Okay, let's do one by one, because my memory sucks. And I say this always in sales calls because I like to deal with one thing at a time. So first one was
Rapport.
report. Okay. So I think report is gonna be a little bit different from person to person, but also from culture to culture, right? For me, building rapport with Latin, because I work two markets, I work North America and I work Latin America, right? It part has to do with myself, but it also I think it has to do with like how people generally carry themselves in those different countries, right? For example, Colombians. Every time I call a Colombian person, they just want to talk.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's positive and negative aspects to this, because the report building is so easy. Like people do, like if you want to be liked, they'll like you. You'll like them back, and it'll be such a nice conversation, right? But at the end of the day, sometimes that's like, if this doesn't take us anywhere, like it's just like we just lost time, right? Whereas like Americans specifically, they're very straightforward. Sometimes you don't really need to build that much rapport at the beginning with them, right? In terms of like, you don't need to. I'll always ask this question, which is honestly very basic, but it helps me gauge what mindset they're in. Like, where about are you guys based? You know, super easy, super simple, nice to know always like where someone's from, and there's always a conversation that can stem out from it shortly, right? But sometimes people will be like, "Oh yeah, I'm from here, and have you been?" You know, as a person that likes to build rapport, that likes to have those types of conversations, and then they'll ask you where you're from. It's like completely different personality than someone that comes like, "Hey, so where are you guys based?" "Oh, we're in Jersey." Awesome. So just to give you some context about the meeting today, the idea is super simple. Like you get right into it, because that's like, you don't need to do that with every person, right? Like we all have different personalities. Some people are right more into business, or right more to the point. It's respectable, and you don't need to like get them out of that. So I would say in report, like it depends on the person, depends on the culture.
It's hard
Yeah.
in dating though.
It's hard in dating, yeah.
Yeah,
The dating's gotta be. Actually, it's a similar thing, I guess. But I agree with you. Like dating a Latin American girl, I don't know what you think. Tell me, like how is it different for you than like with girls over here in Canada?
um, they're crazy.
In Latin America or
Latin
here?
America,
Oh yeah,
they're passionate. I would say
of
more
course,
than crazy. Um,
but crazy is too.
I don't know, the different type of crazy.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I mean, I would say it's easier sometimes, but I don't think it's a regional thing.
Hmm.
But some girls, um, it's hard to open them to a conversation. You have to ask them,
Over here.
like anywhere, everywhere. I think it's different
Oh,
type of personalities.
okay.
Some girls are more open to just have a conversation.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, whatever. If you're a big dog, bro, they talk.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't even need to talk.
Yeah, sometimes talking is not in the mix, and that's fine. Like that's more than fine. Or sometimes it's like it's not even that's transactional. It's the fact like you don't need to be doing the words all the time to vibe with people. Some people, and I think I'm very much like that, because I am talkative sometimes, but sometimes I just like to be social, but at the same time, I don't need to be talking all the time. Sometimes there's no point. Sometimes you're just in front of someone, and you don't need to be saying words to vibe with them to feel their energy. And I think it's the same thing in sales, and the same thing in dating market.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about
Well,
that?
uh, I don't know. I mean, I'm a killer in both, so
Yeah. We
just
know it. We know it.
just come natural to me.
Definitely.
uh,
Wait, before you go to the next question, I just wanted to tell you that I did like speaking about this rapport building. It was one of the main things at the beginning that I wanted to work on, and there's this guy at our company that pretty much helps us with communication, right? So I took a meeting with him, and he told me this, and like if it's important for anyone, I think it's nice to share that the way that we build trust in LATAM is very different than how we build trust in the United States and North America. And he mentioned like for LATAM, maybe it's more about sharing, like you share, they share, in North America it's more about being curious, being curious about them,
oh yeah.
so showing that curiosity even into the business level or to the personal level a little bit less, more, but yeah, just being curious.
Yeah, I mean that's in the book, How to Make Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
Yeah, just being curious. I've used that everywhere, every time that I live
Yeah.
life, and I mean, I guess I live in North America, so I know it works pretty well.
Hmm.
Make friends, make them feel important.
Yeah.
I heard, like, I forgot the founder. She was a founder of a cosmetic company, I believe, or a
Hmm.
fashion industry, and she said people might as well just have label here under their face saying "Make me feel important."
Yeah. Of course, of course. It's also like when you find someone and you talk to them, I think the nicest conversations are like, and I think that's how I also gauge people, because everyone will love to talk about themselves. You can get someone engaged just by asking them questions, but the nicest conversations are gonna be with someone and where they ask you a question back. you know, like yeah, that's like it's
Yeah,
you know
and then you get to talk about yourself.
not it's not so like to me it's not so much because I mean everyone likes to talk about themselves, you know, like that's not
Yeah.
gonna lie, but at the same time is like just the understanding that they have an open mind and they're curious about their surroundings, you know, because it just makes you understand this is a person that's not that self-absorbed, you know, like
Wow.
yeah,
Well, that's interesting. That's an interesting take.
yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
people
so.
that are, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. If you're curious about your surroundings, you tend to be more interesting. That's interesting. So the next one was about the objections. How do you deal with that?
um I guess it depends on the objection, you know, like to me and the way that I've been learning sales over here is that we don't need to force anything into. We come from an abundance mindset, you know, and I love it. I guess like I've seen it in other places where like we like because there's not this type of abundance environment, people want to force people into doing something, and there's like, for example, I see this more in like B2C sales, right?
Yeah.
Where people will be way more direct, manipulative, and even hurtful, you know, towards you know, in B2B. At the end of the day, is like, does this help you or does not help you? You know, like you I don't want to be the person that gets you into doing something that you don't want to do. You know, I want to be the person that helps you take the right decision. You know, and and I think that's why people are so adverse to salespeople nowadays, and that's why sometimes you'll pick up the phone and people will treat you negatively. Is because they have trauma with salespeople. They've been fucked, you know, like they've been fucked by someone. Someone spoke to them pretty, or someone spoke to them rough, made them take a decision that they didn't want to take, and now like sales became this thing where it's manipulation. But no, like honestly, I think the best take on sales is taking someone from where they are to where they want to be, you know, and
Yeah.
being that sage. I think that's called like that's an archetype, you know, like I think you've read Jung as well, or like
Yeah.
an interesting. We have conversations, and there's this archetype called I think the sage. That is the person that takes, not the person, but the archetype that takes people in a journey, right, and shows them what they can find. And you don't want to take someone that doesn't want to go somewhere. And sometimes, and I love this. I love this when I came here first at CloudTalk. I saw one of my account executives for the first time, and he was like, now it's more common. I see it every day, but he was like, oh, well, in your case specifically, I don't think it would be the best fit. I would recommend maybe going more for a solution like Dialpad, you know? And I was like, wait, what? Aren't we supposed to want to take their money? And yeah, we all like money, but like when you come from an abundance mindset, like at the end of the day, and there's like, this is a good thing about the structure of how it works in my company. And we don't get paid until they've stayed a certain amount of time, right? So even to our interest, we don't want to take someone that churns, because this is going to cost the company more money, and it's also not going to get me paid. You know, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
That makes sense. 1 second.
I guess if you have an objection, I have to understand where this objection comes from. If it's an objection that makes a lot of sense, then I'm gonna back you up. And if there is a reason why there may be a cognitive dissonance in perception, but maybe you could see it a different way. Maybe there's something like, just to give you an example, a lot of people come to looking for predictive dialers, right? Which I don't know, it's hard to explain. Maybe it's too long to explain and boring, but predictive dialers are pretty much systems where there's a machine. Think about it as a machine, and it's making calls at the same time, and it's distributing it between different agents, right? There's advantages to it and there's disadvantages to it. What we have is something called a parallel dialer, which works on an individual basis, right? Some people will be like, no, what we need is a predictive dialer. And then you'll ask them why. So the best way to objection handle would be like understanding their reasoning. And sometimes they'll be like, oh, we need a predictive dialer because, let's say,
ChatGPT said.
yeah, exactly, because that's what we've used all our lives.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, and haven't you, like, for example, experienced a bit of a delay, like where the call gets connected, but then it takes like 5 or 6 seconds to actually be able to talk to the prospect, and then they just hang up. It's like, yeah, that happens all the time, and they'll be like, oh, well, do you want to have that problem with the parallel dialer? You know?
So you probably need this one.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And how do you go for the closing? Any tips?
Yeah, so I mean, at this point, SDR, I'm just gonna actually quite soon. I'm gonna start to close some smaller deals. I mainly do prospecting, and at this point, I'm getting to a level where like some people are ready to close after my calls, right? I guess giving them clear next steps are something I've learned from the E's of my company, and they're really good at doing that. Understanding their timeline and giving them a plan for implementation. Honestly, with us is quite easy, quite quick, but understanding their actual timeline. Sometimes they can't start right now because they have a contract. Sometimes they have to get started right away. And something that also comes up all the time is people that tell you like, "We need this as soon as possible." This does not mean absolutely
Nothing.
anything. No, as soon as possible. What's possible for you? You know, like so. What I say when they tell me this is like, does that mean right now? Does that mean a week, a month? And then they'll tell you their timeline, and there's some reasoning.
6 months.
Right? Sometimes I've heard that. I promise you, they tell me as soon as possible. And before, when I was just starting, I would be like, oh, as soon as possible. That's what we need as soon as possible. And then they'll go to the next meeting and they'll be like, yeah, we need this by January next year. It's like, because that's what's possible for us, you know? Yeah.
That's interesting. Now the next one. So you've built a reputation. You're not just a regular guy. You're the top SDR at a CloudTalk, multinational. Hundreds of people have been in that journey, and you've been the top. Nobody has ever made the numbers that you've made in the past.
At a certain point, but actually, I think I got the record, and right the next month I got passed. Like it was just for a month.
Just so you know, we're gonna cut that part out.
We're
We're gonna say you're the
we
top.
can cut it.
You're the top.
Oh my God, they're gonna see it in my company.
You say you will record it like a month ago. No, but either way, you broke ceilings at that company.
Yeah,
What did you do different?
man, I'm hungry. I want to eat. Same than you. I know you, and you're. That's one of the reasons I respect you so much, because I see the work that you put in. I see the things that you do to achieve what you want to achieve, and I look up to you in that way. And I like to surround myself with people like you, and I like to learn from these people. And I'm just hungry. You know, I wanna, and not just hungry for the money. Obviously, you and I both love money. Like I don't think there's a person in the world that does it. But I'm hungry for experience. I'm hungry for growth. I'm hungry for winning. You know, like
Horny.
I'm horny sometimes, but not right now. I don't know, babe.
Horny for money.
Sorry about that.
That's good. That's a good clip. Damn, so you just like you basically outwork them, or was there any special something different, maybe different systems?
Look, I work a lot, and what it comes with working a lot is the fact that I get a lot of reps, right? I don't think I am naturally gifted at all for talking. I don't think I'm naturally gifted at all for sales. You know, if anything, I think like it may not come naturally to me at all. I remember when I was in my company at the beginning, like the first time I picked up the phone, I I was so nervous, like I couldn't even talk. Like my voice started cutting.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
and I felt so bad about it. But what I did is like I didn't stop. You know, like at the time I was with my friend, and we were giving each other some feedback, and I guess it was a little bit too early for me to be taking feedback, which is not a good thing. Taking feedback is good, but I was very self conscious, right? So what I did is like, man, just give me a second. I'm gonna go to the next room and I'm gonna do calls on my own, you
Yeah.
know. And I still was nervous, but I was more forgiving to myself to keep trying, you know. And at this point, like with the amount of calls I have every day, like I just got so many reps, and I push myself to have so many reps that things become way more natural. I even feel like 4 to 5 months ago, I wouldn't have been able to have this type of conversation with you in front of cameras. You know, I would have been too nervous. You know,
Damn.
and right now, I surprised myself a little bit that I am happy that I've developed this skill, and I think it's a really really good skill.
I mean, one of the most important, if not the most important,
Yeah.
this day and age with AI. Nothing technical. It's
What do you think is the most important skill in life? In life and in business. Give me one for both. If it's the same, but if it's different.
I mean, no, I mean, life in business. I mean, in terms of skill, not on behaviors, but skill, sales. you can basically go from rag to riches just with that one skill.
Yeah.
Um, and same in life, sales. I mean, you can be bad at everything, bad. Like yeah, having a crazy background, bad habits, fat and ugly. Like nothing going on for you. But if you know sales,
Yeah.
you're gonna be good.
But sales, as in like understanding people. What does sales mean to you? Like on a deeper level,
Being able to influence people,
influence.
influence in a conversation. Obviously, you can make that scale that with marketing and different other skills that might give you more leverage with that same principle of being able to influence people.
Mm-hmm.
However, if it's just one skill, well, sales is gonna take you from rags to riches more predictably than anything else.
And what do you think is the secret to influence?
To influence, evoke emotion.
Vocal emotion.
Yeah, evoke emotion. That's the most important thing with influence, because I can influence you to love something by making you hate something else. So if I just have like a really bad take on dogs,
Right.
I could my intention could be to make you love dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So I start talking really bad about dogs, and then in a way that you don't like. I can start kicking puppies in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna evoke a negative emotion. That's gonna have an inverse reaction on protecting the dog
Oh yeah.
and loving the dog.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah,
then you put a charity in the next stop. Like you put a guy kicking a dog in a bus stop, and then like you put a charity for
yeah.
helping dogs. This is definitely gonna influence people for sure. Yeah. I see that a lot. I guess in marketing, in sales. Like how would you apply that? Like say for selling a product or
I mean, well, in B2B is different because you do need to solve a problem.
yeah,
Um,
meet certain criteria.
but in B2C, I can make you feel insecure about your height, for example, or your looks,
Mm-hmm.
or your finances,
Yep.
and make you make an impulse buy of a car, for example. They do that in car sales all the time. They tell you,
Mm-hmm.
oh, maybe you don't have the money, you don't look like you can buy this car, and people sometimes buy the car in a huge interest just to prove the salesman wrong, and they do prove the salesman wrong, and the guy takes a big check home.
Yeah.
So it's evoke emotions. I think that's
Yeah. No, even in B2C, right? Like it's just like the difference is like most of the time it isn't as personal, but like something that we like to understand from our customers is always like what's the impact, like the negative impact of like keep keeping doing what you're doing right now, and then like the positive impact of taking a change, taking a new decision, right? If you make people say that, or just like because a lot of it is like themselves labeling something, right? Like they know they have a problem, they just haven't labeled it.
yeah,
So once they're able to say that, you take them and you take it out of them. Now it's in their head. Okay, my issue is operational. Like my operation isn't working as it should. And if it was better, an easier operation, it would make my life easier. It would make my guys' life more easy. Um, same in the other side of the scope, right? So
yeah,
yeah, it exists too, and I think the more personal that you make it, also the better, right?
yeah,
So just to give you an example, we sell something that's called AI conversational intelligence, right? Which basically it gives you the capacity to not only look at the recordings, not only to listen to the recordings of the conversations that your guys have, but you also get like an AI summary of what they said. You get sentiment analysis. You can tag the call into different subjects to like, let's say, classify them. So I will always ask the guy that I'm talking to, are you the person that's like handling this whole operation? Are you going to be monitoring the team? Is like, would it make your life easier to not go to have to each conversation at a time, but to get a more of a better snapshot just by like looking at your dashboard and seeing what they did and then looking to the whole conversation? Oh yeah, this would help me a lot. So that's more of a personal pain. Like it's gonna make my day to day easier, right? So that's the best way to do it, even in B2B.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at the end, you do have to influence people in B2B as well. So yeah,
Yeah,
emotions. Most of our behavior is based on emotions. The rational part is quite short, and even the
yeah,
rational part is a big part of you rationalizing your emotions.
yeah. You find that people take different this like uh take decisions differently in each part of the world.
Yeah, I think a bit of that is genetic, in terms of the cortisol or the dopamine baseline that they have, serotonin as
Mm,
well. Also culture.
yeah,
They do take different decisions, but there's principles that apply to every single human being.
yeah, of course, 100%. I've observed that, for example, in the United States, they're so good about doing their due diligence, and that also kind of like speaks to how well the economy is working in North America as opposed to, for example, in Latam, right? In Latam, when you talk to someone, it's rarely gonna be the decision maker. It's always always someone that they send, and they take so long in taking a decision, and it needs to go to someone that's on top of them, and then someone that's on top of them. So I think that's also why, like, decision making processes like in companies actually affect economies as a whole. you
Yeah.
know like in Europe, what I've observed, I've never worked in the European market. I had one or two clients that come from Europe, and observed as well, but I also look at like what the other guys do in the team with the team in Europe. And I think with them it's a lot about like just vibe you, like it's like I like you, I think I can trust you, and I mean it works for them, like
I mean, well, they're doing well.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. This is not a political one, so we can leave those opinions for another one.
Yeah.
Um, and how do you stay consistent month after month, breaking records, killing it, consistently delivering results? Can be easy. Can't be easy. So how do you stay consistent?
Good question. um I guess w- during the last couple of years of my life is the first time that I actually start getting a good feedback or actually like compliments on my work ethic. Because like growing up and as a kid, it wouldn't be like we would think about Sal as a person that had work ethic in school. That wouldn't be like my top thing at all. Like I would do the least amount as possible to be able to get by. To be completely honest, that's because I never thought that it would bring me that much more to put that extra effort, right? At least for me, I know for a lot of people it does. If you want to become a doctor, you want to become the best doctor, you have to have the best fucking notes.
I mean, with
You know?
AI these days, and
Yeah,
but I guess,
exactly.
I guess.
So how I stay consistent, a lot of it is because this type of job also adapts a lot to the way that I work, and it's like I have um I have that positive feedback. If I work well one day, I'll know the next day and I'll see it in my numbers that I've been doing well. And that feeds my energy to keep doing it more. And I know that's kind of more to do with motivation than with discipline. And discipline is like the top thing that like we have to work on, right? I guess knowing that also helps a lot. That motivation is different than discipline because like we can all be motivated at a certain point in time and just be killing it, and then motivation is gone, and then you won't be killing it, right? So having that discipline of like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, no matter how I feel. That's like a good mindset to have. Um, if you're organized, it's gonna make your life easier. That's actually an aspect that I could work in myself. I wouldn't say I'm the most organized person in the world, but it definitely helps to become a little bit more organized. And at the same time, just like not buying your own excuses. Like I think something with sales a lot is going to be like you and you become better at selling yourself into doing the things that you want to do. Like, okay, I've taken this decision, why have I taken this decision? Ask yourself the right questions, and if your decision is actually because of a greater outcome and you believe it wholeheartedly, you are going to do what you want to do. Like your actions are going to be reflecting your thoughts.
Makes sense. And well, last question. If you had kids, a little Salvador this day, and all you could do to educate him was giving him one advice, what advice would you give him?
Wow, that's an amazing question. I feel like I need more time to think that. I'm gonna think of some advice that my own dad gave me because I think that's what's given getting me by the best. And it's like wherever you go, meet people. Like meet people, talk to people. Like people are gonna get you further than anything else in life. Your relationships are so important. And it is like important to like where you're gonna go in life because opportunities are gonna come because of people. But it's not just about that. Like you're gonna become a richer human being the more open that you are to like different points of view in life, not limiting yourself to just talking to this specific type of person or this specific type of person. Maybe they think completely different than you, and like that's actually a good thing. you know it's a good thing. You can't be scared of having conversations with people that are not like you, and you have to be open to putting different people in the same place. I love that. My dad always did that. He would take two groups of people that apparently had nothing to do with each other. My mom would be like, "How are you gonna invite these two people to this place? You're gonna hate each other." And then you see something beautiful happen because they're enriching each other's lives, And he was the person to put them together. So I think that's a good advice. Like I'll tell my son to always be open to that, open to any type of learning that he can get in terms of people.
Nice. Well, this was the one and only Salvador. Thanks for coming, brother. And yeah, any links, anything you wanna?
I mean, guys, you can follow me on LinkedIn, and I guess so. Like, I'm not heavy there. I'm not heavy in any social media as for now, but maybe now that my brother is doing it, I'm gonna get a little bit inspired. So, once that happens, maybe we'll have a part two.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
let's
appreciate
go.
it, man.
Thank you, bro.